Mark, you were at Old Trafford to watch Man United against Fulham. It wasn't particularly convincing, particularly at the end, but it was another win for Michael Carrick. It's now 3 in a row, something that it took Ruben Amorim an awful long time to achieve. Michael Carrick's done it in his first 3 games. What did you make of United's performance? What was the mood kind of around Michael Carrick, I suppose, at the end? Because, United is always the biggest story, but at the moment, it's Carrick, isn't it? And whether he's going to get that job permanently.
Well, the mood is pretty upbeat, actually. I thought United were quite convincing until 85 minutes, and obviously Fulham got back into the game with a penalty and that amazing goal by Kevin. But the fact that United pulled the victory out of the fire with Sesko scoring in the 94th minute, that kind of tells you where United are at right now. And I think it's been the same as it's been for a while with United, that when they've got their best 11 on the pitch, they can actually beat anybody. But as soon as Casemiro was taken off on, I think, 70 minutes for Ugarte, the same thing happened again. I haven't got the stats to hand, but I know when United take Casemiro off, they tend to concede goals. And the issue for United right now is if they can keep that 11, that starting 11, 12, 13 players that he trusts together and fit, they've got a chance of finishing top 3, I think, because Villa have had a bit of a wobble. They're without McGinn and without Tielemans for the next 2 months. But if they start getting injuries to key players, if Casemiro gets injured, if Harry Maguire or Martinez get injured, then, or if the goalkeeper, Sonny Lemons, gets injured, they've got a problem. But right now, things are going great. So, the questions will be, is Michael Carrick the guy for the long term? And I think it's only 3 games, so we have to kind of bear that in mind. But I do get the feeling that there's going to be some momentum building quite soon as to give him the job. Now, I'm not saying I subscribe to that, but I think that there will be a clamour for Carrick to get the job, because the winning games in kind of Man United style of attacking football, they're getting the Fergie time goals as well. But he's also brought this kind of sense of calmness. He looks like he belongs on the touchline. I mean, at the end of the game yesterday, everyone in the ground was going crazy because it was such a tense situation. He just stood there calm, no kind of histrionics whatsoever. But I do think we had this chat off camera that he's given United a problem now, Carrick, by doing so well, because I'm pretty sure that when they appointed him as head coach until the end of the season, the idea that it would stabilise it, get them in the top 6, Europa League, and then move on in the summer with, a sense of calm, restored a sense of stability. But he's doing too well now, in the sense that he's doing so well that they're going to have to consider giving him the job. And I don't think they wanted to do that. But then they'll be having that little voice in the back of heads thinking, well, if we don't give him the job, what happens if it all goes back to square one again with a new manager coming in and wanting different things, etc.? So I think at some point in the next 4 to 6 weeks, United have to decide whether Carrick is a contender or if he's not. And if he's not, they have to say, we are not having Michael Carrick as coach because we want a elite coach who's won the Premier League, the Champions League, etc. Because United have got a big summer ahead in terms of recruitment, in terms of lots of things. If you're a player that they want right now, you want to know who the manager is. Other things like Harry Maguire, his contract expires in the summer. Does the new coach, whoever it is, want Harry Maguire to be part of an experienced back 4? Or does the new coach want to go with youth in the sense of Lenny Yoro, Aidan Heaven, Kobe Mainu? He's seen what can happen when the manager in your face doesn't fit. So players will want to know the manager coming in, what formation he plays, what players he likes. And the longer that Michael Carrick is in situ as a temporary manager without any kind of indication as to what's happening next, United are losing time on the bigger situation of getting the manager in the summer. It could be Carrick, it could be Thomas Tuchel, it could be Carlo Ancelotti, but they can't wait until the summer to do that. They have to do it in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
How much do you get a sense from the conversations you've had with people at United that there's an obvious comparison with Solskjaer? Is there a sense among the decision makers that there is a warning from history here? And I'm not saying, I don't believe Carrick's the right man to get the Man United job personally, but it's hard to argue with what he's doing at the moment. But do you get a sense that they are fully aware of what happened with Solskjaer in a very similar situation and how the sentiment kind of, the sort of club got carried along with that sentiment? Is that sort of conscious in their minds right now?
Rob will have an indication of this as well, but I'm pretty sure it's there in the sense that they don't want to be seen as making the easy option or making the easy choice again. Because last time with Solskjaer, it was the easy choice. The feel-good factor was back. He was getting all the ex-players on side. There was a real bandwagon for Ole, and they gave him the job. It was a different regime, though, then. It was the Ed Woodward regime, and I think Ed wanted to ride that wave of popularity and make an appointment that the fans loved as well. So different people involved, different factors. But obviously, Michael Carrick and Solskjaer are completely different characters. I think that has been borne out by the fact that Carrick has brought in a coach like Steve Holland straight away. whereas Ollie was resistant right to the end to upgrade his coaching staff. So the different people, Carrick is much more pragmatic. But yeah, there is a sense of, if United go with Carrick, it's taking the easy option again. You've done it again. Look what happened with Solskjaer. Now, listen, I was never sold on Solskjaer. I thought he was a coach that shouldn't have got the job, didn't have the credentials for it, and his tactics were way too kind of adventurous. But he did get into a second spot finish in the Premier League, and he got him playing attacking football. There was that season as well where they didn't lose an away game in the Premier League, so it wasn't all bad. And it was probably better than bad at most times, but no, certainly when you consider what's come since. But it's definitely there in the back of the minds of the people at United that they want to be seen as doing a proper job of due diligence, finding the right coach. But while there's that nagging thought about, can we do that again? There's also the nagging thought, what happens if we've got a really good coach here, a really good manager, and we're throwing it away because we don't want to be seen as taking the easy option? So they're in a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, I mean, the Solskjaer situation is definitely on their minds and has been since they appointed Michael Carrick. I mean, you just can't escape the similarities between those two situations. And actually, the preview that I did before the Fulham game was about that exact situation. And if you speak to people who are involved in that Solskjaer appointment, they appointed Solskjaer at the time because he was very much a stopgap. They looked at other candidates like Laurent Blanc, but Blanc had managed France in the past and PSG. It had the feel of a long-term appointment, and they didn't want that. What they wanted was a stopgap. And what happened with Solskjaer was that the results just ran away from them. They weren't expecting it to be that good, and it reached a point where there was no other option really but to give Solskjaer the job permanently because of the feeling inside the squad, inside the dressing room, what he'd done for the players, but also outside with the fans. And they felt that ultimately there was no option, and they had planned to do this proper recruitment process for a new manager, but they never even started it because Solskjaer had kind of won the job already. And I think there is a sense that maybe Carrick is following that pattern a little bit, because certainly he started far better than anyone could have expected by beating City and Arsenal. No one really would have expected that. I'm not even sure Carrick would have expected that, to be honest. And so you do get into a similar situation. And I did think it was interesting that when you speak to people at United when Amorim was sacked and they were sort of talking about what they were looking for in their next permanent manager, the two things that kept coming up again and again and again were that we're not going to alter our structure. It is going to have to be someone who fits into our structure. We've not been put off by what happened with Amorim and Wilcox. We are sure that the structure is right. We need a coach who's going to fit into that structure. And also, they have become very well aware that one of the top credentials for this new manager is an ability to handle the pressure at Man United, because the pressure they think at United is very unique and very intense. Now, if that's one of your main boxes to tick, then there aren't many people better to handle that pressure than a former player who's been part of a successful Man United team, who knows what it takes to win. Now, dangerously veering close to the kind of United DNA chat, which I'm trying not to do, but Carrick, if you're talking to candidates about the pressure of Man United, Carrick and Solskjaer know exactly what that is. They know exactly how to handle it. They know exactly how tough the scrutiny is, because not only have they dealt with it, they've been successful in that environment under Sir Alex Ferguson. So I can understand why, if you've got someone like Michael Carrick sat in front of you who's won 3 games out of 3, who can also slot quite seamlessly into a structure. He's not a Thomas Tuchel. He's not a Roberto De Zerbi who's going to be particularly demanding of the recruitment staff. And also he sat there saying, you want someone who can handle the pressure of Man United? Well, just look at my CV. I've won a number of Premier League titles and the Champions League. I can do it. I know exactly what this job entails. And that's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to not to get seduced by that. And they did with Solskjaer. Obviously, as Mark pointed out, it's different people involved in the decision-making process, but they did it with Solskjaer in the past. And I think if it carries on with Michael Carrick, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to look elsewhere.
I think already 3 games in, I think he's already kind of surpassed the likes of Roberto De Zerbi, Oliver Glasner, even Mauricio Pochettino, because those coaches haven't got the credentials that you need to be a United manager. They haven't won a Premier League. They haven't won a Champions League. So I think right now, the only 2 coaches ahead of him are Thomas Tuchel and Carlo Ancelotti, in the sense that they both delivered on the big stage. But obviously Tuchel, he kind of has a lot of negatives around him, in the sense that he falls out with hierarchy wherever he goes. So maybe the perfect scenario for Man United is to try and persuade Carrick to stay at the club, but maybe working under Ancelotti, because Ancelotti, an experienced coach, late 60s now, is a guy that is not really a coach, he's more of a figurehead. if Carrick would work with an Ancelotti, for instance, Ancelotti's got all the credentials, multiple Champions League winner, Premier League winner, won titles in every country he played in, I think. And then Carrick could obviously work alongside a guy that has that ability to say, I've done it all. The one thing that lets Carrick down is there are other things that let Carrick down are the fact that, first of all, is he the guy that can win Man United a Premier League title? Do you think Michael Carrick can guide them to the Champions League? I mean, no English coach has ever won the Premier League. So for a start, he's on the back foot there. I don't think you can appoint Michael Carrick by saying this guy's going to win as a league. He might get in the top 4, that's fine. But if you've only got that next step and win a Premier League, you need a coach that's been there and done it, a Tuchel or an Ancelotti. But like I say, I think Tuchel's got too many things going against him to be the ideal scenario. Ancelotti with Carrick, for me, would be a great way to do it. But obviously, Ancelotti will probably have other offers and Carrick might not want to stay as a number 2. So these are all things that United have got to consider. But it's not just about the right coach and the right structure. It's about the guy that's got the credentials to actually win something.
You've also got to think about the dressing room, because if Michael Carrick wins a load of games and the players love him, you just hear in interviews the way that Lisandro Martinez is talking about him. If he's won a load of games and United turn around to the dressing room and go, actually, we're not having the guy that you really like who's winning loads of games, we're going to go with another guy. Lisandro Martinez and everyone else in the dressing room is going to go, why? Why are you doing that? And then the new guy's going to come in. It might not go particularly well. And immediately the dressing room, you've lost the dressing room straight away because they're all hankering for the guy that had it last time. There was an element of that when Ruud van Nistelrooy had those 3 games in charge. And that was only for 3 or 4 games. And some of the players were thinking, well, why is he gone? Why is he not here anymore? And Amrim immediately was on the back foot. That if Carrick wins 10 games and they finish 3rd, and United's, Barada and Wilcox turn around to them and go, actually, we're not hiring him. I'm not sure the dressing room are going to take that. It's a really, really, really tough decision for Man United. I don't envy Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox with this because, obviously you always want to win games. There is a sense maybe that Michael Carrick is doing or may do too well, and the decision is completely taken out of their hands.
Well, okay, but do either of you think that Carrick would accept being a number 2? That he would join the backroom staff of another manager? Let's say let's play this out. He gets them into the top 4. He wins the majority of his games. He's the man. Would he accept in that situation effectively being demoted down to number 2 or part of a coaching staff for an Ancelotti for a 2?
I don't. No, he's done that. He did it with Solskjaer. He did it with Mourinho. He served his time as a first team coach, as a number 2. He's had a head coach's job or a manager's job at Middlesbrough. He had interest when Wolves were looking for a new manager before Christmas. There are other Premier League clubs, even before this stint, there were Premier League clubs who were looking at him and thinking we might want to talk to him. I think he was a little bit more cautious about speaking to Wolves than they were talking to him, but there was obviously interest. I think he will feel if he wants to have a career in management, that he served his time as a coach. And also, if you're going to move him to number 2 with underneath someone like Ancelotti or Tuchel, then what happens to Steve Holland? Steve Holland is a fantastic number 2. So what happens to him? Does he get booted? There's an awful lot of people at Man United who are saying that he's a big part of what's happening at United at the moment. So do you install Carrick as a number 2 and then he gets booted? Also, I think it sends a mixed message to the dressing room as well. The guy who was in charge is now number 2 and you've got to listen to the guy above him. I think that raises more issues than it solves. But again, it's just shows how tough a decision this is going to be for United, because it's just not simple. And also, this whole conversation has started with the Solskjaer thing, in the background to all of this is the Solskjaer thing. There'll be a lot of Man United fans who are thinking, well, why are we going to go down the same route? Like, it's tough.
I disagree with that. I think the one coach who Carrick would stay for is Ancelotti, because it's Carlo Ancelotti. I mean, we're not talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're talking about Carlo Ancelotti now. Obviously, Mourinho, that was Carrick right at the outset of his coaching career, just come out of playing. So that wasn't really working as a number 2 to Jose. That was learning the ropes. And if you're Michael Carrick and you're thinking, right, how am I going to get the best job I can get? Well, the best job he can get is the Man United job or the England job. Who knows? But if he leaves Man United in the summer, having gotten into the top 4, what offers is he going to get? Well, it was linked with West Brom. It was linked with Wolves. Those jobs are just going to end in the sack. Those jobs are not. All you are with those jobs is guaranteed to fail. Maybe Tottenham in the summer. I mean, if Carrick gets United to the Champions League, and they say, "What's that?"
There was talk of Tottenham, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, obviously Tottenham is a bit of a basket case at the best of times, but former player, this DNA, etc., blah blah blah. Carrick to Tottenham in the summer might be the sort of job that would appeal to him. But again, can you succeed at Tottenham, or are you kind of set up to fail? So I think if he's given the opportunity to work under a Carlo Ancelotti for a couple of years, but I agree, we've seen this before, Ryan Giggs, work under David Moyes, work under Louis van Gaal, work under Jose Mourinho, you'd be groomed to get the job, didn't get the job. So Carrick has to have that in the back of his mind. But listen, if Carrick stays and gets the job, if he gets into the top 4 into the Champions League, I think he's earned the job. But I don't think United can wait until the middle of May to decide. They have to be cold-headed about it, make the decision in March, mid-March, and say, right, this is our guy, this is who we want to sign in the summer, this is who we want to get rid of, and plan ahead. You can't just wait till the middle of the summer to make this decision. It's too big a decision for United.